Yo, ladies and gents, Boomer here, and welcome back to another Rocket League video. Today's video, we're going to be continuing our ultimate guide to Rocket League, and we're tackling 3v3 today. So, adjusting the series to your guys' comments on the last video, we'll be taking a look at, obviously, the professional RLCS game at this current moment, as well as a lower rank 3v3 match, so we can wrap it around for you guys to show you that the simple concepts can be worked on at any level in the game. So, 3v3 at the highest level is where I personally think Rocket League becomes the most enjoyable. I've been a 3v3 main my entire career, and as a competitor myself, it's when the game is actually played like a sport, which is the complete opposite of playing the ranked mode. This is where pure team cohesion comes to a peak, and every decision matters on the pitch. It's also where Rocket League is played with the most structure. For those of you who have been watching me for a long time, you'll know my thoughts on Rocket League's rank system and stuff like that, but I digress. Anyway, let's get our fundamental structure down for 3v3. Right, so if you're a long-time Rocket League player, you'll know the extreme basic fundamentals and roles of 3v3, which goes as follows. The first man role. Usually the first man is the first to force a play, and typically has the freedom to do as they please with the ball. Number 2, the second man role. Attempts to follow up on the first man's play, typically playing the best case scenario. Number 3, the third man role. Plays to cover the worst case scenario, and buys time for his first man and second man to get back on defense. Number 4, the main goal of 3v3 is to work as a team, break down the other team's defense through a siege of possession, and capitalizing on an advantage when successful. Note, 3v3 in this current meta is a cut meta. Back in the day it used to be hard rotations, but it's a lot less clean cut these days with how mechanical the game has gotten. So for those of you that are either new to 3v3, we'll be breaking down the best and efficient ways to go about playing 3v3 in today's meta. Let's get right into this. Okay, so today's game that I chose to break down for the RLCS side of things, I took a replay from the recent RLCS EU Qualifier 3, and these are two of the best teams in the world at this current point in time in Carmine Corp and Vitality. So we're going to be watching from Jolly POV, and we're going to kind of break down the replay like I normally would. So we'll get a clean watch through, and then we'll go back and break down all the goals. We'll try to get as much game sense packed in here for you guys as possible, and then we'll go to a lower rank replay. Very good force there from Jolly. Gets the ball in middle, and there's that second man follow-up, playing the best case scenario, just like we talked about. Post kickoff scenario. Jolly's not going to jump. He's going to have Atau force for him. Atau gets the win on the shell, and then obviously second man follow-up, and you can see Vatira playing the security third man role, right? Also distributing the ball is an important thing that I didn't really list in the fundamentals of a third man, but in this current meta, it has definitely become a role to kind of distribute the ball to either, it being a cut meta, people don't usually do full rotates back, so if they win a mid boost, they usually turn up, and then the ball is distributed through an extension play, for those of you that are soccer players or football players. Very good pass there again. What a shot as well. I'm not sure what game this was in the series, but this was not a LAN. This was just an online qualifier. So these two teams having, some of the most mechanical players in the game at this current point in time, right? Players in the conversation for best in the world as well. It's mainly the reason why I chose to break it down. See, Jolly is filtering in as the third man here. Defense, it's a little bit less clean cut in terms of roles. Typically, if you were to break down 2v2, right, you usually have one player to force, and you have one player to pick up the ball. In threes, you can have, obviously, 3-layer defense, but it's important not to bottleneck in 3v3. And what I mean by bottleneck is everybody kind of getting stuck within the net, right? Something like as simple as that, where Jolly keeps his momentum across the net, to kind of force this for Atau. If he gets outplayed, it's going to just go up to Atau anyway, so... but this is where siege possessions come into play, right? You can see that KC is very low on the boost right now. So it's up to Vitality to kind of play the ball into a spot where they can't cover it, right? And they essentially just break them down. They prevent clears. They gain the boost advantage, and, you know, they force people to jump. And once that happens, you know, once you force a player to jump, it's easy to bump somebody who's landing, right? And they can't really change their momentum, so that's why bumps are also very, very OP in this current meta as well. Nice, good force there. Ball is intentionally lost to Atao. They beat him on the clear and the distribute touch. Monkey Moon trying to be that first man aggressor. Zen and Exotic playing second and third man there. And you see this ball, the pace of this ball. This is what makes 3v3 the best mode, in my opinion. The pace that you can play at in 3v3 is true freedom, right? I think Rocket League having the total control over everything you do with this car is what makes the game so enjoyable. So, you know, it being a racing game, I love keeping my momentum up in any game mode that I play, but sometimes it's not as viable in 1v1 or 2v2. But in 3s, it just feels like everything's moving as like a unit, and everything, all these situations happen kind of like clockwork, right? If that's on the first man role here, again, Drawley playing that second man follow-up. Vatira playing the security role. Now they've swapped, so Vatira's forcing. Drawley is playing the security role. You're literally swapping roles within a few touches too. So having the awareness of what needs to be done in each situation is it's important. Something that I don't see in Rank 3v3 whatsoever. I think Rank 3v3, I would love to make a series about, you know, what Rank 3v3 was in the earlier seasons of Rocket League and what it's become in terms of ranked. Competitive has always stayed the same, and it is definitely evolved to higher levels, but this is where the game is actually played respectfully, right? You have to respect each other in these kind of spots. These are the best of the best players right now, so you can't be making the dumb decisions that I would see people make in ranked, right? That's the kind of stuff that another professional player will definitely punish you for. That just ends up being a goal. Okay, so we're going to go back in and we're going to analyze each play. And we'll probably do it from a top-down so we can get as much information as possible. So let's go back a little bit to see how this play develops, right? So Drawley is kind of in this first man role. So first man having the freedom to do whatever they want, right? He can be as annoying as he possibly wants. Okay, so he forces a chow here. He realizes no one's going for the ball, and he wants to cover a pass. The ball is still in front of Drawley, so he wants to either hit this ball back, you know, win it for a teammate, or just get in front of it and be annoying. Don't give them a clean possession. Don't give them a clean clear. Don't give them a clean mechanical play. It's great stuff. So Vatira is now playing best case scenario. You can see he's not playing super, super close, right? You don't ever want to be kind of on top of your teammate in these spots because anytime you're that close to each other in Rocket League, you essentially become one player, right? So Vatira's got a nice amount of distance between him and Drawley, and he can cover if this ball spills out this way or this way, right? And if it goes like all the way back here, then this would be Atao's ball to go for, right? And you can see Atao, not sure why he's super, super close as a third man. And I'm not saying you have to, people kind of stress about how far you have to distance as a third man, but there is a problem with being too close and too far, right? If you're too far in a play and this ball gets hit over Vatira, and Vatira can't get back, let's say Vatira gets demoed in this spot, you as a third man conceding all this space between you and the three other players is a very bad thing in today's meta. Because not only is it harder to read the play when you're all the way back here, but you make yourself susceptible to getting 3v1 demo chased, which a lot of players will do that in ranked. They do full rotates back because they think 3s is still like a, you know, hard rotate mode, and they think that's what the role, you know, as long as they're playing the role, it's fine. But there are a lot of gray area things within that, and you should be doing what the play calls for rather than what you're comfortable with. So in this spot, Drawley forces. Now Vatira is playing the next follow-up. So now you can see Atao's trying to filter in, and he's patient. You know, he's not full sending it while his teammate's in the corner. He waits till Drawley can get out. Right? That is the third man's role. You want to make sure before you push up as a third man that someone's at least going back. So the green light for him to push up is that Drawley is flipping out. Okay, so now he can be the second man to Vatira's first man. Now he's first man. So So he's forcing the ball. Jolly is now second man. Now he's first man. Now Vatira second man. So you can see the difference in decision making, right? In these spots. They kind of filter through these spots and they see what a good decision might be. So obviously Vatira can play a second man and play an infield pass here, but it doesn't look like Jolly is going for an infield pass. He does not have the momentum to kind of hit this hard, like around Monkey Moon anywhere. He can't really hit it down here because Zen's kind of got it covered and Exotic will be able to get there. So Jolly's trying to create something that's awkward for them to defend, right? So once Vatira realizes, you know, that pass is not coming through, he tries to get a play of value. The reason he goes for Exotic in this spot is because Monkey Moon is going to force, Zen's waiting on the boost. Meaning Zen is basically irrelevant in this play at this current point in time. Monkey Moon is just trying to win this ball or 50 it. So if Vatira trusts Jolly to get this ball through, and he demos this player, then that's going to be an open net. Zen has to get his momentum up. It's going to be a difficult save. Luckily, he gets the boost in time. And it still ends up being a goal. Because you can see this is kind of a bottleneck from Vitality in this spot. When you do not have a player with momentum kind of sweeping across, right? These 50s end up getting killed in your corner, right? And this is intentional by Jolly. He's pre-flipping some type of control here in this spot so that, you know, he can follow it, but he's also making somebody think he's going for a mechanical play. So in a sense, it kind of makes Monkey Moon hesitate in the spot. I'm not going to guarantee that, you know, I don't know what Monkey Moon's thinking in this actual moment in time, but just by the car body language, obviously Zen, we're not factoring in this play, but Monkey Moon waits a second, you know, because it's technically a two-man defense right now. Exotic covering the net, and Monkey Moon is forcing the ball. The problem with this is Exotic gets bottlenecked. So he gets stuck on the goal line and he doesn't have any momentum. So when something like this happens, you know, and then he has to dodge a bump, you make yourself a very easy target when you sit in the net. This is what I think the true plague of Rocket League in any game mode at this current point in time is people going into the net and sitting. And you can see it's a lot harder to get your momentum back up and jump for something like this because you don't have speed, right? Even though he went early, it's still very difficult to, and he kind of makes a mistake and hits the sidewall, you know, when he jumps. But even Zen in this spot barely gets the boost in time. He doesn't go backboard because, you know, I don't know what the comms might be. You know, Exotic might have called that he had it. And this is Atao capitalizing on this kind of play, right? As a third man, a lot of people are afraid to kind of commit to a play like this. Right? There's also the misconception that third man should never go up for the play when the first man and second man are there. I've seen that I have a buddy that I coach, one of my IRL buddies, and he's been GC2, GC3, and anytime he plays with Unky and I, he thinks like as long as he sees both of us up there, he should not go for the ball. People are so afraid of double committing. I apologize for the YouTube sub, but Jetster, thank you for the YouTube sub. Some people are very, very afraid to double commit in 3v3. In certain situations, it is actually better to double commit than no one going at all. I want people to know that. Even commentary team kind of treats double commits like it's the end of the world. But in this current meta of threes, sometimes you need two people like very, very close to each other to prevent a play from being disastrous. So in this spot, right, this is the green light. And this could be something that Vatira has commented as well. Once he realizes, you know, Jolly's probably commenting that he's taking a 50. Vatira's probably saying going for bump. So Atta kind of has to decide what to do here. So if this 50 is disastrous, he can cover it. This is the important part about playing worst case scenario, right? He, in this current position, has everything that could potentially happen covered in this play. The ball gets pinched up to the ceiling, gets pinched down the sidewall, gets pinched down this way, gets pinched down this way, an infield pass down this way. You know, he has all of this covered with his current positioning. So this is something you guys can utilize in your own gameplay, in your own replays, when you're asking yourself, am I in a good spot? If you can cover every situation that could potentially happen in the spot, then yes. Even if this pinch is straight over Atao towards his net somehow, in some, you know, Jolly takes the worst 50 imaginable, and they pinch it together like a freestyler pinch. Atao can turn and cover that. So this is the key to positioning yourself. Now, once this 50 happens, and you can see, you know, he was anticipating it was going to spill this way, because it looked like Jolly was going to lose it, the way Monkey Moon kind of jumped at it. Now he's reading the play. So what do you see in this spot as Atao? Okay, Zen was sitting on the boost, does not have momentum, and he is underneath the ball, meaning he is always going to be at a disadvantage for jumping for a play like this. Monkey Moon has just gone for the ball, so he can't go. So Vatira's threaten of a demo is what gains them this advantage. Drali's 50 is fantastic as well, and the positioning from Atao is great. Obviously, there is a mistake by Exotic by hitting the wall, but that's not what got them scored on. What got them scored on is the bottleneck. So if we go back in the play here, and we watch it from Drali POV, and we see where this bottleneck begins. It begins with 0 boost. So it's the player who didn't have the boost that causes the bottleneck. So it's Zen in this spot. This is a post-takeoff scenario. Okay. Right here, Monkey Moon kind of bumps into Zen. So this is the first mistake. For those of you that think Rocket League is one mistake gets you scored on, it is a domino effect game. So it is a bunch of mistakes, and it is a bunch of decisions after the mistake happens that lead you to get scored on. Right? So that's the first kind of mistake. So Drali wins this boost. Now Monkey Moon has to try to hit this to a teammate because he doesn't have a lot of boost, and he's very awkward after. It's the only like good option here because, you know, he doesn't want to just clear. He doesn't want to give up the possession. He doesn't want to bang it away. He doesn't know who's kind of in the mid there, so he doesn't want to infield pass it. So it's a light touch, and he's hoping Exotic can get there. Drali understands this, and Drali just got a boost advantage. So capitalizing on your advantage, right? He's going to use the boost to be annoying. And now they've all bottlenecked again, right? So now they're kind of already stuck. Exotic has no momentum on this catch, right? Because he kind of had to slow down here in case of the shot threat. So he's trying to get some type of control. And they cut his infield pass. Now this is where things get a little harder for Vitality. Zen has to kind of make a play on 0 boost, and he can't. Right? So he's just trying to take... He's not forcing 50s, if you pay attention. He's trying to take nice, solid 50s so that it makes Monkey Moon's life easier. This is another thing that you will not see in ranked Rocket League. Right? The ball goes pinching like pinball because people do not think about how to 50 in those spots. So Zen decides to fake here. This is another interesting decision by Zen. And it's understandable because he's trying to mind game Drali on the wall here. Right? He wants Drali to think he's going to clear it, which he successfully gets Drali to think that. And then he just waits on the boost. Right? Because he's not thinking it's a threatening situation. He thinks, you know, he's got the security of Exotic back behind him. But if you were Exotic, let's see what happened. So Exotic just dribbled the ball out. Okay? Filters out mid. He's watching the play. Doesn't want to get bumped. Tries to bump Vatira. And now he goes and steals the boost from Atao. So now his momentum could be up here in this spot. In my eyes, I think it's better for Monkey Moon to go a little earlier, just so that, you know, Exotic doesn't have to kind of bottleneck himself on the goal line. Because you can see in this spot, he doesn't want to just throw himself into the corner because both of his teammates are there, right? So in this kind of spot, he's probably just listening to his teammates and playing safe, and then he goes, "Uh-oh, Vatira's coming for me," and then, you know, it's in the net. So I've already spent too long on breaking down the first goal, but 3v3 is the most enjoyable for that reason. Let's go back to Drali and let's take a look at the second goal here. This video is definitely going to be the longest out of the series. Let's just take a look at the goal so we can have some recollection. Infield pass. Not exactly infield, just more backboard and ball. So we're going to go back a little bit and see where the siege begins again, because we have a save here from Carmine. So we go from defense to offense. So let's see what happens. Let's start from the kickoff. Okay, so in this spot, Drali is third man. There's no reason for him to pre-jump from this far. It's going to be a lot harder to read what Zen's doing from this far. So it's almost always better for Atao to jump in force in this spot. But you can play it, you know, either or. If Drali really feels confident and wants to jump for it, or he's afraid of a bump from Monkey Moon, he can jump and then Atao can come back and be third. That's something you can calm your teammates in the moment. So Atao up to force. Zen, I don't know what happened to Zen. Let's take a look here. Okay, so Vatira bumps Zen, right? So Zen is prioritizing recovery instead. Monkey Moon is going to be the one up to force, right? He doesn't want to give him a clean possession. So just gets one touch to buy time, you know? And this buys time for Zen to kind of get in a more comfortable position, and it buys time for Exotic to make a read as well. Okay? So now Drali up to force. You know, he's trying to get a beat there. He ends up bumping Exotic into the ball. Zen with a big clear, and Vatira playing that third man security role, right? You know, especially when you have a play that's going to be a little uncertain of what's going to happen. Like, you can just tell he's just trying to get pads while also looking at the play. Right? And then there's the distribution of the ball, right? So if you're paying attention to your teammates, a lot of these third man players in ranked will just hit this straight back to where Exotic's at, or hit it into the corner where Monkey Moon's at. Like, you need to be paying attention to what your teammates are doing. In this spot, you can see Atao is supersonic and has boost. So that is his current option. So he just waits on the bounce, distributes the ball. Atao turning up, and this is also a phenomenal demo by Drali, right? After he recovers, you know, the Vitality team kind of pushes up. He sees Monkey Moon kind of flipping over, and once you flip over, you know, somebody commits their momentum. So very good awareness. Now this opens up the play. So if you were to look at this from a top down, okay, from Vitality side. So you have a first man, second man in Zen and Monkey Moon. Exotic playing that third man. Vatira now distributes. Boom, your second man's gone and your first man's overcommitted. So Exotic now has to buy a lot of time. Right, so he closes the space down. That's the first important thing of what Exotic does, right? He's closing the space down. He's also not going supersonic. I will see a lot of players in ranked be full supersonic at this ball as a third man, and then the ball just gets banged over them. You have to have awareness in the spot for what your role is, for what the play calls for. Okay, your second man's dead, your teammates overcommit on 0. You need to buy time for either Zen to get back and get boost, or let Monkey Moon spawn and get boost. Right, you want layers. So he closes the space down. He's not supersonic. He's patient. He's watching Atao. And then he's up to force. That's it. Tip off the backboard. Zen's now dead. Monkey Moon couldn't get boost. So now Vatira has a free possession. It's very, very on the fly decision making, right? It's very, very what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like people think Rocket League is played like the same way every single time, which certain game sense situations, yes, but it's more improvising. That's the word I was looking for. It's more improvising than you think, right? Doing what the play calls for is very, very important, but having the awareness and having the understanding of how that play is going to develop is a massive trait that these players have, right? Because they've been playing the game for such a long time. They know how these situations work. So post, you know, kind of weird defensive situation for Vitality, Vatira goes for a mech play, and Exotic's up to force. Right? Clear the ball out so that they can relieve some pressure, and Zen and Monkey Moon can get some boost. Now Drali here kind of fakes the hard touch up the wall and gets Monkey Moon to jump high, and then he blocks low. And then he saves his flip, so he single jump. This is a mechanical like outplay, which is great. Wins the ball out, and then a little awareness check. You notice that? Right? He goes, that's probably 3. You know, he's probably calming that. But that's their entire team. So Vatira just trying to get this ball middle as soon as possible, because that is what's important in the spot, right? There's literally nobody back. So get that ball middle as soon as possible. Don't go for an air dribble. Don't go for a mechanical play. He actually can't get the touch. He realizes the ball is going to, you know, roll off of the wall. He doesn't want to rush this, you know. Now that the other team is back, they have to adjust. Okay. So Ata goes, okay. He's leaving it, just grabbing the boost. And you can see Exotic. This is kind of like a big brain play from Vatira too, because he kind of puts Exotic into a spot where he feels like he has to play this ball quickly, right? Information wise, if you're on the back rotate like this, you are now first man. Your role is to force the play, okay? Or force the ball for a teammate, or win the ball for a teammate or yourself, okay? So once he sees this, he loses information on where Atao is. So he's assuming that somebody's going to be up for this, right? So he immediately jumps, gets a touch on the sidewall. You know, it's a very hard touch. And again, it looks like Monkey Moon and Zen bottleneck in this spot, right? And you can't really blame them. This is where I think the cut rotate would be way, way better. And this is what we call a top box rotate. So in this spot, Exotic should obviously be the first. Oh, sorry. What is happening? Okay. I apologize. This tool sometimes, bro. Okay, chill, tool. Okay, Exotic should be the first to go force. And I think Monkey Moon should slow down a bit, right? This is no longer like immediately threatening after Vatira misses. So he could slow down and kind of like cruise within the top of the box, right? If we want to say the box is like here, okay? And you can cover anything that Exotic doesn't have, okay? If this ball actually does get hit mid or along the wall or up here, you know, he can go up on the backboard. If it gets hit down middle, like more infield, then he can turn in, right? And then if this ball happens like this, what Exotic did, he can be here to follow it. Which in the spot, it's a lot harder because this touch is kind of dinked, right? So it's a lot easier for Atau to kind of get up to it and just hold a single jump and then flip into it. And then Monkey Moon just realizes he's a little too close in that spot. You know, he tries to make a very quick read, and that's just, it's too difficult. It's hit too hard, and Zen kind of just has to guess, you know, where the shot's going to go, and it is a perfect top right shot. So, well done by Vitality. Or, sorry, Carmine Corp. Okay, on to the next goal. You got a lot to unpack here. Okay, so we get Vitality's first goal. So we have to start, you know, how we get into the siege. Okay. Let's watch it from Zen POV in the spot. So we have an attack by Carmine. Okay, Zen beating Vatira there. Atau trying to clear it out. Zen just throwing a shot on target. Carmine trying to take possession of the save instead of hit it away. Very good force from Exotic there to block Vatira's clear. You can see they all have the boost advantage. Vatira up, forcing. There's the outplay. Tries to get a pass to Monkey Moon. Exotic with a high touch, forcing Drally to jump and cover it. Vatira's going to clear here. We block the clear, and he's taking control of it. Gorgeous first touch, and he's getting players to jump, right? Even Drally with, you know, how many pennies he just picked up. He's got more than half a tank, and he has to jump and force, right? Monkey Moon blocking that clear. Puts it on the target. Gets 2 players to go. Zen blocking another clear, right? This is the kind of siege that I was discussing earlier. And Exotic trying to pass down to Zen. Zen trying to get a, you know, crazy pre-flip reset over the top. Monkey Moon there laying the pressure down. Finally gets the bump, and Exotic takes the open net. So this is a type of play that we have to watch from a top down, right? So you can really see the impact that some of these decisions have on the play, right? So Zen obviously with the first initial beat of Vatira on the sidewall here. Okay, so now technically, because Vatira is going to take a second to recover, this is technically a 3v1 in this current point in time. Drally's trying to get back, and Atau is covering that worst case scenario. Okay, so now Atau gets 2 touches, and this is extremely important in the spot because he buys tons of time for his team. Gets a touch here, wins the boost, I think, or he at least gets Exotic to miss the boost. And he gets a touch that is awkward enough for Monkey Moon, who's hauling through this spot, right? So it allows Drally and Drally and Vatira to get boost in this spot. Okay, so now we have 3-layered defense. Okay, Exotic's kind of out of the play right now. So Zen's just forcing a shot. So it's an awkward catch for Drally. He has to kind of play possession, and you can see Zen and Monkey Moon are both on top of it in this spot. So very, very aggro challenge from both of them. And it's great because not only do they get the ball off of Drally very quick, they allow Exotic to get into a shooting position, Zen to get out, get boost from maybe Drally in that spot. And now somebody can force Vatira to kind of, you know, get an uncomfortable clear. So ends up hitting the ball into him. Delayed 50 from Exotic. Smart play on 0 boost. So now Atau is forced to clear. Monkey Moon leaves it for Zen. Now that we get another reset here. And again, there's that attempted pass play. Now if you're Exotic in this spot, you have 2 players out of the play. This is technically a 3v1 again, right? So he wants to force a problem for Drally as soon as possible, whether that be a shot on target. Monkey Moon threatened to bump as well, so Drally is kind of forced to jump. Exotic hits it high, so Drally has to jump, reads the bounce. And then Exotic goes again, right? Forces Vatira to kind of clear it away, and Zen's waiting in that spot for the clear. Obviously, he's not going to pass infield. Drally has that covered. This is like protecting the top box rotate like I was talking about. You know, he's covering any infields in this kind of spot. You know, this pass would have to be diagonal backwards in order for Drally not to cover it. So Zen gets some incredible control like we all know he can do. You know, forces Drally to get up. He's forcing Atau to cover a high there. Monkey Moon blocking the clear and just trying to shoot right where the gap is. And Exotic immediately, this is Exotic going from third man. So for those of you that are very, very afraid of the ball when you're third man, this is a spot where buying time for your teammates looks like a challenge. And especially if you don't want to concede the possession, you don't want to concede the amount of pressure. These are innate things that players can feel. If you feel like a team is low on boost, they most likely are, right? They have been struggling to get boost in this spot. They've been living off the pennies. So if you know you have the boost advantage, he's blocking the clear. Right? This allows Zen to now turn in. Because if he doesn't, let's say Exotic doesn't go in this spot, right? Let's say Exotic turns away from the play in this spot. Okay, whatever that looks like. Now that's going to force Zen to go back. It doesn't matter what that looks like. You know, it's going to force Zen to go back because this ball is going to get cleared. It's going to bounce off, you know, the sidewall here, and then Zen's going to have to go back again, which we saw him do 2 or 3 times. Sometimes you can't always keep the siege right. You know, it gets very, very chaotic forcing these 50s. It's almost like a controlled chaos, right? So now it allows Zen to literally jump from here to block the clear, which then opens up, you know, time for Exotic to jump, and he's trying to pass this back to Zen, right? Because that would be threatening. These are little tiny decisions that players definitely do not think about in ranked. This is something that's in this spot. It's technically 2v1 between Atel's like close, but Exotic, Zen, and Drali is a 2v1 with Exotic, Zen, and Drali. So the best way to give Drali a problem would be hit this into a spot where he can't get it and leave it for Zen to shoot, right? It's going to have to be a pretty perfect shot, either across, you know, low if Drali jumps. It depends on what Zen wants to do, and Zen kind of pre-flips it so that Atal whiffs, and then he tries to get like a reset or something. And you see it. There's a mistake by KC. Vatira has the momentum, and Atal kind of like dinked it over him, so this allows Monkey Moon to now get in, get a very aggro chow. It spills off Atal's car, unfortunately, and then Monkey Moon just follows up with the bump, and Exotic takes the open net. So 3v3 is just a massive amount of decisions. So if we were to just skim this like last kind of final part by Monkey Moon, right? Because he does go all the way back. You know, he goes for the pass from Zen. The mechanical, you know, he's trying to shoot it off of Zen's mechanical play. This is a decision where he goes all the way back. And it's a great play from Zen because look how much time that buys for Monkey Moon to get the back boost and get all the way back into the play. Then once his clear is forced, he's just trying to shoot on the target. There's that 50 again. He can't get it. He dies. Zen covering for that. Zen again making the play. And Monkey Moon again. That aggro. Just forcing. You know, he knows he's not going to score in that spot. It's not the point. I see even when you watch RLCS, the commentary team will be like, oh, he misses the shot. No, this is an intentional, like, force. Sometimes players will just hit the ball towards the backboard to get somebody to jump. It's not an attempted shot. So in this spot, he knows he's not going to score, but it forces players to cover it. He gets Drali and Atau to jump, right? Because in this spot, they're bottlenecked on the goal line. So it's like, you can have comms, you can have trust, but the game is too fast, right? Somebody has to jump in those spots. And especially if there are players who aren't going to hesitate, then of course there's going to be stuff like that. It's just, you know, it's eventually, it's like hats off to Vitality, right? You can't do much in this spot. Tyria obviously, you know, wants to clear this across, and that's how kind of just like outplays him, and then, you know, he's already awkward, loses all his momentum, he backflips, and Monkey Moon catches him when he's flipping. So very good capitalized by Vitality. All right, on to the next goal. Here we are with Drali again. Little infield pass play from Vitality. And it's just an overcommit. So we have to understand why something like this breaks down. Okay. So we'll go from here. Because it looks like this is another Vitality siege. We have the extension play and distribution of the ball. Right? We intentionally lose the challenge down. And we have a player with momentum sweeping. I cannot stress how important this is. Right? This is exactly what I was saying. Like, you need momentum across the net because of plays like this. Right? I will see so many players too in this spot. I will do this kind of 50 that Drali does all the time. Solo queue, even when I'm playing with my own teammates, and this ball is not played into space towards the extension. It's either popped back into the sidewall, played back into the corner, 50'd into Monkey Moon again for some reason. Like, just play the ball into space. That's the quickest way to start an attack and give a problem to the third man. right? Which is Zen in this spot. So a shot on. There you go. And it forces him to save. It's a hell of a shot. And this forces people to use boost, right? You do what the play calls for. Right here in this spot, Vatira goes from, you know, keeping his ball away from Monkey Moon. Now he has to cover 2 players in a certain amount of time. He has to kind of force Zen forward Raleigh, but he also has to kind of cover that infield pass that he knows Exotic is in the option, right? So he kind of takes like an angle to it and he tries to flip in front of that infield. It's a great infield from Zen. And Exotic kind of biffed it, I think. He like pre-flips a little bit. He's just trying to go... okay, he didn't biff it. He's trying to get a perfect shot on that spot. That's what I mean by like respecting players, right? People would, you know, commentary team and people would say that he like absolutely shanks the shot. But now that I even said it. I even said he biffed it. But he's trying to hit this as far top left as he possibly can because he's respecting that there's a defender back there. Right? So I can't blame him for that whatsoever. Then from here, Monkey Moon wins the boost. So again, turns immediately to try to keep that pressure and gets a player to jump, right? Because there's a shot opportunity there. These players know what they're threatening. And then I'm not sure what happened to Zen. Why we ended up actually overcommitting in this spot. So he goes from the infield. He went for a bump on Drolly. Oh, and he touched it. Robbery. Alright. Ghost touch is crazy, bro. Unfortunate. Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's a successful breakdown. I mean, it ends in a goal, so I think it's just an unfortunate overcommit, and then Zen got a ghost touch. It happens. Nice. So Drolly playing a second man here. And you can see again, this is the difference in decision making, right? I feel like a ranked player would go full send into this corner and just try to 50 it. Yeah, he realizes that Ataw's already doing that. We're playing disruptor from behind. We're making the play awkward. We're not giving Monkey Moon a comfortable possession. We win the big boost, so he's eventually going to give the ball away. Drolly's just there to, you know, buy time for Vatira to get in an advantageous spot. We get 2 players out with that play. And look at the awareness from Ataw in this spot. Right? This is the awareness that I don't see players having ranked. Okay, 2 players are gone. Don't hit the ball away. Leave the ball for the person who's got the better angle behind you. And then go make a play worthwhile. You know, use the man advantage. He recognizes this is now a 3v1. So he immediately leaves the ball and goes to chase. Right? And this is something that could be calmed, right? As soon as he recognizes, I think he checks behind him. Could be an inner clock thing. Oh, he decided against it. Interesting. I think he goes to chase Monkey Moon in this spot. Maybe somebody said they got bumped. I need to see Drolly POV. That's the only thing I could think that would make Ataw turn around. Oh, yeah, he got Goomba'd. That's so unfortunate. He got Goomba'd by Vatira falling. Yeah, so this is something that's like another thing in comms, right? He doesn't full send the bump either. Right? As soon as he hears that his teammate got bumped, he immediately turns back to help. Right? It's always better to kind of stack. Now you have layers on defense. Vatira up to force. Jolly there on the close second, and he just wins a pre-flip against Monkey Moon. So Monkey Moon's spot was very, very difficult. You know, he was kind of low on boost. He's trying to get as many pennies as he can, and then he's kind of forced to play this ball. It's a great touch. He accidentally backflips. It happens to the best of us, and then he just can't get back to it. So this is interesting by Exotic. I'm not sure what the comms were, but this is one of the rare mistakes that you'd see a player of Exotic's caliber making, right? He's supersonic here, and he's not got all the situations covered. He's not covering multiple scenarios in this spot. So, you know, he thinks Vatira's going to have a touch. And then once he realizes, you know, no one's going to have a touch, it's already too late. He's gone supersonic. He's overdriven his positioning, and now he can no longer cover this unfortunate situation. So, okay. Now that we have the entire fundamentals out, it's taken 37 minutes for 3v3 and what 3v3 looks like at the highest level. Let's go pull a lower rank gameplay, and we're going to break down everything like we did in this. Every single goal, We'll talk about the roles, if people are doing them right, and we'll talk about what the troll decision making is as opposed to the professional decision making. All right, so we have a Grand Champ 2 replay I just randomly pulled. And we're going to break this down from this player's POV, UB. Okay, so we got a force, and already it's sloppy, right? So the second man is way too close in this spot. The first man's force is floaty, even though they should be playing ball in this spot, right? They're kind of floating up on the aerial, and they're giving, you know, the time and space to the Sheila player to have a comfortable mechanical play, right? Good first touch, grabbing the reset and using it. This already makes the third man and second man very, very awkward. The third man has pretty poor positioning as well, you know, kind of gets spawned into a bad spot, but should immediately get a wider angle to play this ball, right? And now UB has to make a catch, unfortunately bumps teammate, and then drives it right into the corner where the other player is. Doesn't take an outplay, could flip the ball over there, and is trying to force a controlled play and just gets dunked. Now we have a double commit on the goal line. And that is a bad double commit. That is a bad example of a double commit. But it was better that they both went than no one go at all in that spot. You can see this ball is just getting tossed around like a pinball. It's a man advantage play. And this is only 2 ranks away from the top rank in the game. So for those of you that put Grand Champ on a pedestal, I would not. The game sense in this current 3v3 meta is very, very lacking at the lower ranks. So I'm surprised watching 3v3 and everyone kind of stopped playing rank 3s around like season 3 of free-to-play, I'd say, is when it's the competitive integrity of rank 3v3 stopped mattering. There are definitely still people who queue rank 3s, like high-level players that queue it. But it is definitely not the same game that it was. It is no longer played with the cohesion or the structure that it used to have. It's kind of just like everybody throws themselves at the ball and slaps it around until somebody makes a really bad mistake and then they score it. It's not really as strategical as it used to be either. Nice, good pass. Very good try on the shot. An attempted pass, and the third man kind of left it. So the first man has to go back for it. We have a lot to unpack in this one for sure. It wasn't a high scoring game if I remember. I believe it's like 1-2. Taking way too long to get back on defense, taking the longest route home possible. No anticipation that there's going to be a child there, and then almost an own goal. Throwing the possession away makes it harder for the teammates. Should be a flick earlier there. It's just the pacing is all incorrect, and the touches could be a lot better. See, like, a player might think this is something that's like successful, but at the end of the day, what are you accomplishing with this? Right? You don't get any players to jump and then you just give the ball away for free. You make it harder for yourself and your teammates to follow up, and you're giving them a free ball to distribute, and then you overcommit yourself. You're forcing your teammate to use boost in that spot. Extension play there, nearly a pass play from the orange team. Good pass them from Sheila. Good aerial from UB. They're fighting over the boost and the ball. I don't know if these players are queued. Those players are queued together and they're double committing like that. Those are the double commits you gotta... And I'm surprised no one on the orange team went to challenge it when they saw both of the players kind of like confusing each other. Rank 3v3 is so much more like of a mess and chaotic. And it's just he has to watch 3 cars fly up for the ball. Yikes. Okay, on to the next goal. Post kickoff. Okay, we demo the guy going for the mech play. First man's not going to help third man. Leaves third man stranded in a 2v1. And no wonder it's goal. Bad decision from UB in that spot. Let's just get to the last goal. Because we're gonna have to spend some time breaking these plays down. Okay, big whiff from their third man. And a 50 on the goal line. Okay. Alright, let's break these down real quick. So we gotta see how these plays begin. So it probably begins with that, honestly. No, it probably begins a little earlier than that. It begins here. So this is what I'm talking about of Rocket League is a domino effect game, right? This decision right here, and it's probably a lot earlier than that. Let's start. Oh my. Okay, yeah. It starts a lot earlier than that. This is why Rocket League is so much fun. Okay, so I'm gonna point out. We're gonna watch the playback. And I'm gonna point out all the mistakes for you guys to see from UB's POV. Okay, so we're on attack here. Okay, that's fine, right? Forcing a save from the other team. Okay, now his third man sees his teammate not going, so he tries to fill in. Gets at least a demo. Is not going back all the way, and not going back fast enough. Not taking the pennies back. So this could have potentially been a goal already. This has no information on, doesn't even check where the other players are. Can see that the other players are nowhere near the play. Absolutely nowhere near. And decides to rush this. Which, hitting this ball away from yourself makes it harder to follow up and makes it easier for the opponent to follow up. So you can see Sheila in this spot. Immediately recognizes that this ball is hit way too far. Kills somebody and then gets in front of it. So it's just a force for a teammate in that spot. So this is already the other mistake of the play. And instead of recovering and trying to get into a spot to save it, pinches it off the side of the post. And now is not playing third man, even though is watching both teammates go up the field, right? So in this spot, what is the anticipation? If your teammate gets dunked very badly here towards the net, who's going to save it? Already troll decision making, troll positioning by both players here in, I think it's Marcy and UB. And then the sidewall is also another mistake. Gives the possession away for free, waste boost, waste your teammate's boost. Okay, makes third man very, very awkward. Third man's in an awkward spot, not covering the worst case scenario. Okay, we beat 2. Now we capitalize on the man advantage in this play, right? Why doesn't one just go for a demo? Player with the boost should go for the demo and then just leave the ball to be flicked by the lower boost player, or vice versa. You could play shield as the lower boost player in that spot. Okay, and then from here they get a pinch 50. There it is again, the pinball 50. Very awkward for the third man. You know, forcing the third man. Another wasteful touch, banged into the sidewall. Another pinch 50. I think that's an attempted pass. Another pop. That's better for the other team. And then we're not forcing. No one's forcing. Because we're all out of position. We're all like somebody, Tabernat or Marcy need to stay and force. And they both leave, and then Marcy recognizes it too late, jumps too late, jumps too bad, and then UB is also not anticipating that they are third man in this spot, and they should be ready to save the ball. So very, 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 very sloppy by both teams. Okay, and then we'll start from here since this one happens pretty quick. Post kickoff scenario. Okay, 2v1, that's fine. Good demo. Now their third man should be up, shooting this. It is an open net. Where's our third man? Not in the right position. Let's go see why Marcy is not in position. Okay, grabbing the boost and drives right into the bump. Surely you can see the player is like going at you in that spot. And then even this, why would you pass to the player who's just grabbing 100 boost? That, you know, the player that just bumped you didn't have boost. You have more than enough boost in this spot to just boost efficiently out this way and then play it on the bounce. And you can play this ball up to your teammate who's grabbing this boost or up to this teammate if you want. But that teammate's covered by somebody, so why not play it to this space here? Instead, we dink it back because we panic. And then it's just a pass back. You've left yourself 2v1 stranded. UB is now overcommit, grabbing the big boost in the corner. So it's a bunch of decisions from the entire team that gets them scored on, and well played. You know, honestly, well played to the orange team. They actually utilized, you know, some team cohesion here. Looks like Sheila and Brainiac are in comms, and this is their solo queue teammate passing the ball, right? Very well done by Sakis 123 Nico, because being a solo queue player, you know, you can utilize your duo queue correctly, right? Why would you rip a shot when you can just pass it into the space? And I mean, nearly missed it, but somehow ends up in the net. And then the final goal. Okay, forced 50 by Yubi. It goes to Tabernets. I guess it's kind of a win. Right. So this, fortunately, I don't think was intentional the way they challenged this. Just pinch 50. Tabernet gets a nice first touch, gets an outplay of 2, and then the third just whiffs. So bad positioning by Sakis there. And Sheila, I don't know why, doesn't decide to go here. Looks like they're in two minds of, the situation says you're alone right now, and your threat is a infield pass. You can get to this ball. You're already supersonic. So why would you go supersonic towards the ball and then slow down? When you could have a 50 right here. You could have a dunk. And then just gets dunked anyway. So that's like inviting yourself to get scored on. Okay, anyway, we're going to go pull one of my replays. So now that we have the lower ranks, it's obviously a lot sloppier. So we'll see what SSL looks like compared to RLCS, compared to Grand Champ. Alright, and for the final one, since this video is going to be a lot longer than I expected it to be, we'll just we'll talk through the game. It's just a scrim between my team and my former team. So we'll just talk about all the goals and stuff like that. Alright, so to start, defensive situation. Okay, Hurdle's playing the ball back, so I go to support. I'm immediately into support. I let him know Cloudy's jumping for the ball. Okay, and I'm playing worst case scenario in this spot because I am third man. Okay, once I see Hurdle wins that, I'm now anticipating Temp to shoot. Okay, so I can close the space and try to lunge in front of it, but I want to give something that's going to be good for Unky as well. Hurdle there, Temp went for some kind of control, I believe, because Hurdle was going to bump him, you know, if he went for the shot. And then I just, I wait for the good bounce and catch Cloudy out. And Cloudy had, you know, it was just a little too close as a third man in that spot in terms of anticipation. So both my teammates are here. You can see I'm trying to play worst case scenario. Once I see that Hurdle's out and Unky is leaving, that is my green light to go, right? So now I'm playing this ball in a spot where Cloudy cannot get it. And I'm going for, you know, we've opened up space through a demo. It looks like Hurdle got a demo. Yeah. This is the difference, right? This is anticipation of Hurdle, right? So this is the same kind of play that between Vitality and KC, right? Unky and Temp are kind of Drally and Monkey Moon this spot. So once Hurdle recognizes, you know, he can't get this, he goes for a bump, because that's who's going to be their security man in that play right now, is AV. Right, so catches AV on low momentum, and this opens up a ton of time for me to go for a mech play. And Temp tried to cover it. You know, he rushed back very, very quick, thinking my reset, you know, was going to be hard enough, or I was going to flip early, which is fine. It's good anticipation for him. You know, he should have enough time for Cloudy to get back. And Cloudy, you can see the difference is Cloudy slows down for a second because he's afraid of own goaling, right? If you have the angle to this spot, you know, if Cloudy just does this instead of this, right? He can clear this to the side wall, but I mean, Hurdle's also over there, so this is where the siege is kind of coming into play, right? Because even if they do get the clear, Hurdle's going to be next. He can get this boost. He can get the ball. It's all about the positioning, right? And then Unky can cover like anything from this spot as well. So just one of those times where we capitalize on the advantage, right? Capitalize on the demo. So let's see why this is a goal for them. All right, we get a demo on our side, and it's just in. I'm pretty sure I remember this. I think Hurdle didn't think it was in. But this is just one of these spots where it's like it doesn't have to happen in the first place. So this ball, I'm now like second man to Hurdle's first man. Okay, so I'm trying to follow it up. Once Cloudy gets this, I know it's going to be free for Unky, but Unky preemptively turned away way too early, right? He thinks Cloudy's going to get a much harder hit than that. So now he could be there popping the ball, if he was just patient. But he ends up turning away, so now he's allowing Cloudy to kind of chase it down. And then he makes it like more awkward for me, so now I can't carry my momentum through and kind of clear that for us. So I have to kind of rush, dodge AV's like shot attempt, and take a 50 with Temp. And then Temp does a very good job just 50ing me and then going up for a ceiling pinch. And Hurdle definitely could have saved it, I think, in this spot. He just didn't think it was in. But this is the problem with like kind of stiffer angles, right? So after he gets a demo, if he just makes it a little more dramatic, you give yourself options in this spot right here. Because if it does go higher, you can go backboard. And if it's, you know, on target, you can sweep across net to clear it to Unky or even clear it to me in this spot. But he ends up just going a little too stiff on the angle. And it goes behind him. And then it's a lot harder to save than it normally would be. Okay, next goal. Okay, I'm trying to support Unky in the spot. Hurdle tries to play pass to me. I get a good bump, and Unky's there for the finish. So this is one of these plays where, right, AV is now chasing me. So I know he's gonna take a while to recover. If we can get this ball off of Temp and Cloudy, which they have a double commit, that's one of the case scenarios where it's a bad double commit. I want to play this ball at pace. The more efficient play would be for Unky to leave it for me, and then I play this extension play up to Hurdle, and then Hurdle can have a shot on an open net. But instead, I trust my teammates' decision making. You know, I try to just stay along with them. I can see Hurdle's not playing Disruptor from behind. This is something that's harder for AV to see, right? Unless Hurdle's cobbed in that spot, which would be the player with the wider angle, which would be Temp in this spot. Should have to tell somebody that Hurdle's back there. All right? And then once this pass is down to me, I understand that I'm threatening a shot, but I'm not trying to rip it because I want to guarantee a better possession, so I'm trying to not hit it into one of the players. Right? I'm trying to get that bottom left corner because AV's covering the high. Cloudy, I know, is not on the line of the shot, so I try to hit it down left. It forces AV to save it, and then I bump him. All right, so now this is technically just up to Temp. Cloudy's still kind of like stuck under the ball. He can't really do much on 0. So Unky just has to place his shot, and he picks a perfect spot, you know, as far top left as he possibly can. You know, this is what Exotic was trying to do. And even with the jump on the low and the squishy save on the high, it's almost always going to be difficult to save. That's why, you know, motions across the net are almost always going to do you justice when it comes to stuff like that. Let's see why this is a goal for them. Hurdle kind of first man here. Double commit for me and Unky, and then it's a goal. So the issue with this play, Unky should be forcing for me. Yeah, that's fine. It just, the 50 goes to Temp, unfortunately. Hurdle could have tried to get some control, I think, in that spot as well. I don't know, he's trying to block the person jumping. I just thought in this spot, Unky was gonna be like receiving this, but I'm not sure what he was seeing in this spot. Oh, he kind of like pushed up. Then he has to make a very awkward turn, and then Temp's there. Yeah, and I knew he didn't have it, so I'm trying to cover the bounce as well. And then we both misread it. Temp beats us both, and good finish by AV. It's done just quick enough to where they can capitalize on a 3-man advantage, 3v2. We force a back right. Unky up for a solo play. I'm just like Sunday driving, apparently. I should be forcing the ball out for Hurdle right here. Hurdle goes up to jump. And it's a good 1v1 by AV. Well done. Kind of fakes the reset after and then hits it under Hurdle. Hurdle has too much to cover in that spot. This is what capitalizing on the man advantage looks like, right? Unky is very much overcommitted out of the play and trying to chase a demo, I think, or get a boost. I get demoed, so Hurdle has to not only kind of cover, you know, if AV fakes this and leaves it for Cloudy or Temp, but he also has to cover the reset, so he just has too many options to cover. So it's good efficiency by AV in them. And then the final goal looks like it's just going to be an overcommit and then double tap. Yep. Okay, so the main differences between RLCS and Grand Chef 2 is obviously RLCS has a lot more structure. I just think as Rocket League players as a whole, we need to try to get that structure into the ranked mode. It definitely exists within, you know, scrims and stuff, especially when you you know, you're playing and stuff, but I think in ranked, it's a lot easier to kind of just brain off, and nobody plays 3v3, you know, at the game sense side of things anymore. So it becomes just like this whole chaotic slap ball, pinch ball, pinball thing. But anyway. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys found this useful or helpful, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. Check that notification bell and join the Discord to stay up to date with when I post or go live. Don't forget that I'm also a streamer over on Twitch. If you guys want to talk to me in real time or see me play other games, come stop on over for the vibe. I'm also a coach for Rocket League. If you guys are interested in receiving an analysis or a one-on-one session with me, check out the coaching section in the Discord. The links will be beneath the video. If you guys also want to show some extra support, use code BOOMA in the Fortnite and Rocket League shops. Much love as always. I appreciate you all. I'll see you guys in the next one or on stream. Peace.